The esoteric movement has been taken over by hucksters, twinks, and retards. What's happened after the COVID crisis is a complete mistrust of science, and I get it. I feel betrayed too. But this mistrust has been co-opted by charlatans, crooks, and quacks to make a quick buck. In this module, I will cut through the noise and give you the truth. I will expose the scam supplements and show you the synergistic supplement systems that actually work. So here's the deal. Sex sells, and testosterone is the molecule of sex. So quite understandably, there's a massive business opportunity out here. Any supplement that can market itself as a testosterone booster makes bank, especially if they can find some new novel ingredient that's esoteric sounding, such that the target market hasn't heard of it. Guys are taking pine pollen because they think it's going to give them phytotestosterone. They're taking deer antler velvet because they think they're going to get the IGF-1 from there for their height. They take Tonkat Ali to make their balls bigger. Now, there's tribulus, there's terkestrone, there's stinging nettle, shilajit, there's apigenin and ashwagandha. All these make the promise of testosterone, mood, and energy. But here's what I see. Guys will take all of these and still behave like losers. And then for productivity, there's the huperzine, there's nicotine, there's lion's mane, there's alpha GPC. They'll take all of these and still absolutely not get any work done. Guys will take 5-HTP, GABA, myo-inositol, and chamomile tea for sleep. They still won't get any sleep. It's all bullshit. Just as I have a bone to pick with the healthcare industrial complex, so too do I have a bone to pick with the supplement industrial complex. Let's do a real-life example using the First Man supplement. Yesterday, I made a community post asking what's wrong with this supplement, and you, my audience, delivered. I am proud of you, and I expect nothing less. First, the good. The supplement contains boron. It also contains iodine to balance out the boron. That's a good move. Second, the bad. The L-citrulline dose is too small to make any difference. Oh well, whatever. The ugly. Why is there maca, Tonkat Ali, ashwagandha, and tribulus in the same supplement? But that's even not my problem. The biggest problem for me is the dosage of black pepper extract. The reason for black pepper extract is to increase the absorption of everything else in the supplement. But how does it accomplish this? It does so by negating the detoxification benefits of the liver. To be clear, I think First Man tried to make the best supplement that he could. He just didn't have the knowledge of the hormone engine. This supplement does not show a systemic understanding of the underlying biology. Instead, it's just a collection of the trendiest ingredients on Google Trends in one capsule. Listen, you don't need any of these. These supplements do not address root causes. They promise quick fixes where instead you should be thinking in system. So how do you think in systems? Well, this is part 1 of a 5-module course. You'll have, at the end of it, you'll have a grand picture of the hormone engine in a way that even First Man did not. Many of the herbal supplements like ashwagandha and Tonkat Ali that you saw in the First Man supplement are not even supplements. These are actually medicines which were administered centuries ago under the direct supervision by a shaman. These are powerful adaptogens that can actually screw things up in the long term. Of course, they don't tell you this. Then there's the other supplements that are getting popularity. Stuff like pine pollen and antler velvet. What they don't tell you here is that a good night's sleep will actually give you more benefits than a $100 supplement. Many influencers cite scientific studies to back up their claims about these weird supplements. But it's mostly bullshit. None of these people actually know how to read the scientific literature and actually compare the facts. And it shows. Like for pine pollen, the major study that they keep citing is done on fish. And when it comes to the deer antler velvet, did you know that antler velvet is actually used to monitor the lead levels in the forest? Literally, forestry teams will go into the woods and find this antler velvet and use it to track the amount of lead exposure in the environment. So unless the sourcing is perfect, it will actually do more harm than good. Now, we make fun of the traditional Chinese for eating rhino horn or tiger dick to get a boner. Now, it's the same psychology. How is this any different? The same shit with a bit of scientific wrapping around it. Another example, stinging nettle. Yes, it increases testosterone, but it drops DHT. Not good. For pine pollen, let's say there's enough phytotestosterone in there for it to be viable. And let's say that we can absorb it through our gut, which again, big if. Should we actually take it? Here's the paradox. Either it is strong enough to make a big difference, in which case you should not take it because it's likely to downregulate your natural testosterone production, or it's too weak to notice, in which case, why spend the money? I see guys freaking out when they touch a receipt. I see guys losing sleep because they're so anxious about optimizing their sleep. I thought that health would be something that makes men more robust, but instead what's happened is this hyperfixation on health has actually made men more fragile. I don't like this phenomenon. You must understand, health is not the goal. Health is the foundation upon which to build an amazing life. You are not maxing testosterone by being a hypochondriac health nut with a drawer full of supplements. Stop taking this weird shit unless you actually know what you're doing. For example, I had a client and he wanted me to help him increase his testosterone. Okay. I looked at his blood work and his estrogen was too high. I asked him what supplements he was taking. He was taking the standard stuff, creatine, whatever. He was also taking DHEA and pregnenolone. These are the precursor molecules to testosterone. So he had heard online that taking these precursors would help him support his natural testosterone production. But no, his body was just aromatizing all this precursor to make more estrogen. Eventually, yes, we fixed him. We were able to get him to a healthy 500 plus nanograms per deciliter testosterone, get him lean and mean. But my point here is, you gotta focus on the basics. Excellence is just the fundamentals done 100% of the time. To drive the point home, I want to scroll through some of these physique updates in my communities. Everybody's jacked to the gills, and they're all just fundamentalists. It's not that they don't use supplements, it's that they don't take their eyes off the fundamentals. Now, are all supplements shit? Of course not. There are some supplement systems that are genuinely powerful. I'll show these to you, but I want to make the disclaimer that none of this is medical advice. It's going to be dependent on your specific biology. The first good supplement system is boron paired with iodine. So boron frees up testosterone from its deactivated state and generates more testosterone overall. At any given time, only 2% of your testosterone is actually activated. Most of it is bound to this spherical carrier protein called SHBG. Ideally, we can get the free testosterone above 2.5%. The reason I suggest boron where I didn't mention zinc, selenium, or copper is simply because you can't get boron from food. Boron is only naturally found in some places on Earth, like Greece and the Middle East. And these are the results of long ago meteor strikes that predate mankind. Begs the interesting question, Greece and Turkey, and the Middle East in general, the Fertile Crescent, are the birthplaces of civilization. The Persian Empire of the Zoroastrians, the Assyrians and the Babylonians, the Trojans and the Mesopotamians, the Hittites, the Phoenicians, the Sumerians, the Akkadians. In Greece we have, of course, the legendary Molossians, the Athenians, the Spartans, the Etruscans, and the Corinthians. And if you go even more north of Greece, you'll find the brave Thracians, and you'll find, of course, the legendary Macedonians who produced Alexander the Great. Could it be that these meteor strikes and the resulting boron deposit had a role to play in the history of these tribes? Were the testosterone levels of these men in these areas boosted by the boron, causing them to have a shift in their behavior and their values as an entire society, accelerating these tribes into the pages of history? Worth studying. Also worth studying is the opposite. What happens if our tribes in the modern time lose testosterone? Does this change values at a societal level which, has negative consequences in the game of history? Again, worth studying. But regarding boron as a supplement, boron is a powerful goitrogen, which means that you need to be pairing it with iodine to balance it. In terms of dosage, 6 milligrams of boron is what I do, plus 2 drops of Lugol solution, which is an iodine source. 2 drops of 2% Lugol solution, I should say. Pairing boron with iodine optimizes testosterone as well as the thyroid hormones. This is an example of a synergistic supplement system. Boron on its own would not be advisable, but when you pair it with iodine, now it's a powerhouse. Balancing zinc with copper is another example because zinc can actually deplete copper. In fact, the First Man supplement, you have a bunch of zinc, but you didn't have copper to balance it out with. In fact, every supplement I mentioned will be paired with its counterpart to create a synergy. Now we go to vitamin D. Vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's just a hormone. And it's very valuable to supplement because we spend most of our days indoors, especially in the colder climates. Now to be clear, if you're getting 30 minutes plus of direct sunlight on your bare skin, you don't need supplementation. I've been able to leverage my biology to be able to build a business that affords me the ability to live in Hawaii. So I don't need vitamin D supplementation. But of course, I lived for almost a decade in West Lafayette, Indiana, studying biosciences in college. So I know what it feels like when the skies turn gray and you haven't seen the sun for like 3 months, 6 months even. The winters tend to depress testosterone and dopamine, and you can mitigate some of its effects with vitamin D. If you're taking vitamin D, you should pair it with vitamin K, because these two again have a synergistic effect. And the reason for this is D and K balance each other with respect to calcium intake. Together they can make your bones insanely strong, powerful for martial arts and military. Regarding the dosage, I actually have revisited my thoughts on vitamin D a lot over the past years, and now, again, it's not medical advice, but what I would do if I was in a position where I did need supplementation was to go 10,000 IU per day. Yes, the number sounds like a lot, but in terms of the actual biological effects, it's not that outrageous. So 10,000 IU is what I would personally do. Now we come to King Creatine. It's safe, it's cheap, it's more efficacious than 99% of supplements out there that are 10 times the price. When we think of creatine, we think of gains in the gym, but it's way more than that. It's truly a mitochondrial support supplement. And wherever there's mitochondria, creatine can work its magic. Yes, muscle cells do contain mitochondria, so creatine can help you lift more volume. But the brain neurons actually have more mitochondria concentration. This means that the actual benefit of creatine is actually in the cognitive benefits. In fact, if you look at the scientific literature, there's more work done on creatine as an anti-aging agent or reversing cognitive decline than even the gym stuff. Highly valuable supplement. You can pair creatine, by the way, with methylene blue to create another supplement system. Both supplements work on mitochondria, but they're completely different overlapping pathways. Just to be clear, you can absolutely use each of them separately. It's just up to you whether you want to pair them up. Creatine directly helps amino acid synthesis. It lowers oxidative stress, and it converts testosterone to DHT. But DHT causes hair loss. So should you take creatine if you're afraid of hair loss? So here's the deal. Creatine only causes hair loss if you have a DHT receptor in your hair follicles. That is to say, a sensitive DHT receptor in your hair follicles. So how would you know this? Either you can take a DNA test and it'll straight up say you have the gene for hair loss, or you can just try the creatine, and as you are showering your hair, if you find that more hair is coming off, just stop taking the creatine and you'll just regrow your hair follicles. You'll get your hair back. So it's up to you, the trade-off that you want to make. Do you want to have the DHT or do you want to have the hair? And that's not something that I can recommend you. That's up to you. Now we come back to the herbal supplements. These get a lot of hype on the internet. Tonkat Ali, Phagodia agrestis, however you say it, ashwagandha, and the rest. These are to be seen as medicine. For example, if you have a date lined up, then if you take Tonkat Ali in the morning, might lead to some pleasant surprises later on, if you know what I mean. So it's very situational. These are medicines. These are not supplements in the sense that you don't take them on a day-by-day basis. Ashwagandha is also very situational. It has the ability to numb stress. So if you have a big project coming up and you know that you're going to be stressed out, you know that you're going to have sleepless nights, then ashwagandha can dull the stress response. It'll also dull any happiness response. So it's one of those things where if you know you're going to have to grind it out and there's no source of happiness anyway, it makes sense to dull everything and go hardcore work mode. I personally don't do this. I instead rely on other methods for dealing with stress, which I will build up in the 5th module of this course. Now, what about the basic micronutrients for testosterone like zinc, selenium, copper? I don't think you need to supplement with any of these. I think you can get these from diet. So red meat and eggs contain all of these and more in more bioavailable forms. If you can't get red meat, then just double down on the eggs. You can have like 8 eggs per day. That's all the micronutrients you'll need. You don't have to spend money on zinc and whatnot. At the end of the day, the key point I'm trying to drive here is that health is a system of interlocking systems. So if you think that buying the next latest and greatest supplement is going to change your life, you are mistaken. Before I close out this video, we must zoom out. What is it that we are trying to achieve with these supplements in the first place? What's the dream outcome for you? What does your dream lifestyle look like? What would you be working on if you knew you couldn't fail? Don't sacrifice for your dreams. Your dreams become the sacrifice.